Hello, everyone. Welcome again to one more segment of Velocity Virtual Book Squad. We come to you every Wednesday at 12 noon, and we bring to you a different Christian author, and they will share the works that God has given them to bless this world, to bless this universe with the things that they have imparted, God has imparted into them. I want to remind you that this broadcast is being brought to you by eChurch International. eChurch is a place where people meet God and Christians are equipped. If you want to find out more information about our ministry, how you can be connected, please do send us an email at echurchint@gmail. And then I just want to share with you some of the programs that we have outside of Velocity Virtual Book Squad, which of course is every Wednesday. We also have on every Wednesday night a segment that we call Family and Finances. So the topics that will affect your family, will affect you individually, or your finances, we talk about in our Bible study discussion every Wednesday at 9 o'clock p.m. And we do this discussion every week with my special guest co-host Bishop Norman Hardman. He's the bishop, pastor, and senior pastor and founder of Mount of Transfiguration Church in Opelika, Alabama. So we're going to be on tonight. And our topic tonight is moving from survivors to more than conquerors. So you don't want to miss that. And then on Saturdays, we come to you every Saturday at 6:45 p.m. and Sundays at 9:45 p.m. for our worship experience, where you can just refresh your faith and hear me teach the word of God. And then, of course, every weekday morning on Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. We come to you with Arise with Pastor Danielle McCoy, where I just give words of encouragement and inspiration so that you can boost and jumpstart your day with the prayer and the word of God. So let's go ahead and move into our interview. We have with us today a very, very, very special dear person to my heart. Me and this lady have known each other, y'all. I'm not going to tell you how many years, because then you'll know how old I am. But she has known me since I was at least 18 or 19 years old. I'm doing work in the community, and we have stayed connected over the years. And she's been such an asset in my life that she's even opened doors, and one of the doors that I'm walking through right now. So I am just grateful for her. And of course, my guest today is none other than Miss Barbara Pierce. So I want you guys to just give her a warm Velocity welcome. Hit the comments, put it in the comment, hello Barbara, hit the like button, hit the share button, and let's share this interview with someone, because I promise you it is going to be a wealth of information. So welcome, Miss Barbara Pierce, to Velocity Virtual Book Squad.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Now, before we get into all of the wonderful things that you are doing as an author, I want the people, I'm sure most of the people in Columbus, Georgia, in this area, knows who Barbara Pierce is, but for those that do not know, just let everybody know a little bit about Barbara Pierce. Who are you? What are some of the roles that you fill in the community in addition to being an author?
Well, I'm a former educator, a former elected official, which was a school board for 2 terms. I am now the president of the state of Georgia NAACP, was the first female president of Columbus NAACP branch. God, I can just go on and on. It's not always about me, right? It's all about the things that I do for other people. And what I do is basically the youth. The youth is my prize, okay? I have an organization called CLAY, Children's Literacy and Arts Initiative, that I work with all year round. And what they are doing is now all the arts, any arts you want to name, clothing designing, culinary arts, fashion, theater, singing, whatever arts you want to engage in. That's what these kids are doing. And through that, what we do is Black History Moment. And what we do is governmental teaching, because these are some of the things that they're not taught in the churches or at home and even in schools. So we try to use that time, since they love art so much, is to teach them those two entities. And so I really love what I do. There's a whole lot more about me, but it's not about me. It's about what I do for the community.
Absolutely. But I do want to name this, because when you were talking about first, was there not a first with you with the school board as well?
Yeah, well, I was the first elected school board and first female, Black female in the district, District 7. And it was the first elected board, because before that they did appointments. And so this was
Okay.
the very first election for school board members. And so in my district, in fact, I was the only Black that ran against 3 others, and in the first Black female. and
Yep.
also on the board of the city council, on the board of honors, I was the first Black female. So I've been a first for a lot of things.
Right. And I know when we go to the library there, the beautiful library on Macon Road, your name is
It's
listed
on,
as one of the board
right.
members who was
Mhm.
in place when the library was open. And then you left out one other thing. You are also a minister as
Yes, I
well.
am a yeah. Well, actually, I'm an ordained deacon. I was ordained in about 4 years ago. I've been traveling around with my collar, and you have been with me.
Yes.
We was down in Brunswick for the Arby's Taste a couple of months ago. It was fantastic to see so many clergy come together. I felt like I was really in place, that was where I was supposed to be. So I also do the children's ministry at my church, and that's rewarding. And I just feel so good about the things that I do for the community.
Yes, ma'am. And we do appreciate also the things that you do for the community because it's women like you and because it's Women's History Month. That's why it is so important for me to have such a powerful woman like yourself on who is doing so many great things in the community. You mentioned being the Georgia State President for the NAACP. Tell us, I know we're here to talk about books, y'all, but we need to get this information. Tell us about that role, just in being a woman and standing in that role and of course with so many men that
And
are working with you.
that is the challenge. The challenge
Okay.
is being a woman over such a powerful organization, and to be able to overcome some of
Okay.
how can I say if there is a word for it, but it's overcoming that. What they always think that women can't do it because they're not men, and we're here to tell them that this is girl power. We're about to run. And just to say that in the last 2 years, there have been some problems that were going on that was ran under a man. And of course, before that, it was the first woman president. I'm the second one to run the state conference. That's the challenge.
Okay.
The only challenge is showing them that a woman can be just as intelligent, just as powerful, and more beautiful to run the state conference. But right now, what we're doing is we
Mhm.
are reorganizing, and we are replacing all the cheers to cheers that actually do work. And you're one of them. You are the
Yes.
cheer of women in NAACP. And we are
Yes.
so glad to have you because you took off running.
Thank
And I
you.
just knew that you would be that person to do that. And I'm so glad to have you aboard, along with our education chair, economic chair. I mean, most of our cheers are women. I mean, it wasn't because that's what I was trying to do, but when I looked around to see who was more qualified for the job, they just happened to be women. And so we have
Yes.
about 2 or 3 men that are there that are doing a very good job because we can't do anything without each other. We have to have
Mhm.
both sexes to work together because that's how we win. But that's a little bit about the NAACP. And we've been having a lot of informational programs like criminal justice, housing, legislation. We're getting ready to do the WIN. I know that you're getting ready to do the WIN pop-ups around the state. It's just so much more that we have to do. I'm willing to roll my sleeves up and jump into every aspect of it because a lot of time leaders think they just sit up in the office and just designate all the work. I actually roll my sleeves up and get in it. I host the shows, I speak at the shows, I pray at the shows. I mean, I do everything. So I am very proud of the work that we're doing together because it's not about me, it's about us. We all make up the community.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to bring up the NAACP before we shift into talking about the works that you have as an author, because a lot of people, especially the younger generation, does not understand the power and the strength of the NAACP, nor understand or realize that it is a very viable and active organization, an entity in our communities that is battling on the forefront every day for civil rights.
And we do
And
start our kids off early. I understand. I'm not originally from Columbus. I've been here for about 30 some years now, so it's my home. But when I
mhm,
first came, they was telling me that at one time back in like in the 60s, early 70s, all the kids, it was like it was like a demand that they become a NAACP, member. That was one
mm,
of the things that they did, and they subscribed to the Columbus Times. That's what they told.
okay.
Everybody was a subscriber of the Times and a member of the NAACP as a young person. I hate that we don't have Columbus Times again. By the way, I was one of the last managers of Columbus Times newspaper.
Mhm.
But now we should still do that. We have another Black paper that is here that we should support. We have the NAACP locally that's here that we need to support, and we need to get the kids started very early. In fact, this summer I have usually a 50 to 60 kids that join the camp every last one of them will be a member of the NAACP.
That's awesome. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is something that I will adopt then for my camp, and making sure that we get our children signed up as a part of the
It's
NAACP.
only $10. It's only
Yeah,
$10,
only $10, and
and it's
that's a
worth
great
it.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good information for all of you parents. You want your children to do something this summer, become active and become a part of the community in a very viable way. Sign them up with the NAACP. So let's talk about you being an author, because this book that I have in my hand, my book Rescue Me, you were a pivotal point also in just encouraging me to get this done, and it's also available on your website, and your company, which we're going to talk about in a minute, is pushing me as an author. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on. But let's just talk about you as an author. How did you begin writing? What got you started? What got your wheels a turning to say, hey, this is what I'm going to do?
Okay, so I was always interested in writing. I've been writing ever since I was in high school. And we only talk like you. We're not going to talk about how many years ago that was. So that I've been doing this a long time. And I started off with writing poetry. And I started becoming a publisher in poetry, other people's poetry books.
Okay.
And then I decided that one day that I would start writing children's books. And what encouraged me is Spirit Field. Spirit Field very well, ministries.
Yes.
I was asked to come over there to read to the children in there because my granddaughter was one of the students that was there, and Head Start. And so when they asked me, I kept thinking, wait a minute, I don't want to bring any Dr. Seuss books or any of that. I'm a writer. Let me write my own book. So I actually did it like in a notebook, a composition notebook. I've written the story, and I came over there, and they gathered all the children in the gym, and I read to the children. What was interesting is that I took my granddaughter's class of students and used their names in the book. And it was called May I Have an Alphabet for Just One Day. And it may be a little glare there, but this
I got it now.
And so Zeph Baker said to me, took me out in the hallway. He said, you should publish that book. And I said, really? He said, yeah, it was really interesting and really nice. And so he's a very encouragement in that first book. So that's what I did. I called the company and published my book, but they wasn't doing me right. They were cheating me out of my money. They were charging me too much, which means I couldn't sell the book to, for affordable price to parents. So I talked to my brother about it almost with tears in my eyes. Like, look, your degree is in English and communication. You're a writer. You have all the skills, and I have all the skills. Let's start a company together. And that's when we started Unique Euphony Publishing. Of course, a couple of years later, he started his own company. He pulled out. He said, you're okay. You got this. And so since 2009, I've been publishing other people's books more than I have been doing my own. And so now this year, I'm trying to rebuild my brand by writing, my own books. And so I have one that's coming out called Little Peter. And now that I'm on this religious show here, I want to just say that Little Peter is one of the disciples.
Okay.
And so there's a series of 12 books here that we're working on, all the disciples, and it's for children. It's kind of a hip hop book, it's like Jesus, my right hand dude, that kind of thing. And so I'm very happy, and the kids did a production of it last summer. So those books will be coming out very soon, and it's my disciple book of Peter.
And of course, you are very different. You're only the second author that we have had to come on who was a children's author. And oftentimes when we look at Christian authors, we think that there's going to be some deep message like what I have in my book, Rescue Me. But I think, forget about the audience of our teenagers and our young people that need that positive influence through the pages that they read. And so we thank God for you opening that up, because that's a ministry in itself. And even with your publishing, I've seen one of the plays you did at our church. Was it one of your works that you did? Or I think it was one of the young ladies that you published.
Yes, I published her book, and at that time she was only 11 years old. In fact, that was her birthday that we did it at your church.
Yes.
And we did a book called Shadow and one called Native. And what we did was the play from Shadow, and it was called Star. And she'd written that play herself. And you might want to ask her to come on your show one day, because she's on her third and fourth book now. She's 15 years old.
Oh, wow.
So I feel very instrumental in her writing career. Is starting her off at such a young age. I met her when she was 10, when she did Shadows. And now she's still writing. She's still with us with the Clay. She is actually one of our administrators now, 15 years old with Clay. So that's what I do with children. Then we also have another 13-year-old that has written a book. And I'm telling you, this is fantastic to encourage kids to write as well as read. We always talk about reading, but we also want them to write too. It kind of goes hand in hand. So I feel very good about that.
Right. So let's talk about your publishing company, because that is another part of the meat of this interview. There are so many people now who have literary works inside of them, whether it's poetry, whether it's to write a book, or maybe even to start a magazine. And they're just like, hey, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. And then, of course, we know that places like Amazon has opened up the world of self-publishing to people. But then what I decided, or what I discussed when you and I talked, is, hey, Amazon gives you the platform, but they're not advertising you. So you have to
And
pay to.
it's not only that, they don't give you the skills either. I have seen
Right.
some published books from self-published books from Amazon that looks really, they're just not right. They're not formulated right. They're not professional, because you've done it yourself and you never was taught to do it. Now, some people have been. So what
Mm-hmm.
we do is we actually have classes. We have
Okay.
seminars to teach you how to do it and what to do, how you set up your pages, how you do your font, how how you do your margins to make it look professional. And I've redone some other people's books that had done their books on Amazon, and they was wondering why they couldn't sell it, because when people open it up, they're like, wow, and they don't really pay attention to the contents of the book. They look more of the format of the book. And so
Right.
we that's what we do. And what we do is it's a 3 Saturday seminar. It's like $30 per, and we teach them from the beginning, from the cover to the back of the book. And it's been working out. Now, let me tell you with that. The company also does your book for free when you go through that. It's only $90 for the seminar, but we actually do your book for free, which we're talking about $1,500 to $4,000 to publish your book. We do
Right.
it free if you did it. The only thing that you have to pay for is your illustrations. Like if it's a children's book, we have an author or authors that you can choose from to do your inside of your interior illustrations or your cover. You have to pay for that because they're independent contractors. But when it comes to the company, we take the loss of it and we waive all your charges, whether it's $1,500 to $4,000 if you go through those seminars. And we have one that's starting next month. So if anybody wants to know, they can give me a call. We can get them in those classes. They can either pay the $30 per Saturday, or they can pay the $90 all at one time. But we take them through the whole thing. So they're having problems where they say, I want to write a book, but I don't know where to start, like you say.
Right.
We will take them to the start. And then we got some people say, I don't have time. I want to write a book, but I don't have the time. Well, you do have time. And I'll tell you some of the secrets. Do it when you're sitting at the doctor's office. Do it when you're in your bathroom, or in your bed when you're watching television. There are times that you have free time that you don't even realize that you have it. And those are those times that you can do it, especially when you sit in a doctor's office and you're bored to death. Start writing. Take your phone. Bring your notes up. Start writing. I have so many notes and so many children's books on my telephone that I haven't even published yet, because I get in these places where I'm waiting on somebody, I'm bored to death, and I started typing it up. So those are times that's just a secret, so you guys can get started on writing right now.
Right. And those are good tips, because that was how I started mine. I used my phone and I would dictate it. Stuff came to my brain. I would just dictate it on my phone, email it to myself, copy and paste it. And before I knew, I looked back and I had several chapters already. And I just had to filter through the information. And I think another key thing that you all do is helping the people filter through the information, because one of the things that I did, hey, Ralph, how are you? One of the things that I did was, after I got the information, then I was like, okay, what do I keep? What's relevant to the book? And those are things that you do. You help the authors look at what they've written and say, okay, does all of this need to be in here? Can we take something out? Can we move it around? And you're not going to get that with Amazon and self-publishing.
That's right. Oh, no, they just publish it for you. That's it. They just publish it for you. They don't do any of that. They do no editing, none of that. So it's very important to have somebody, even someone like me, that grammatically correct. I still have people to look at behind me, or either I have a program. You can go to Grammarly or anything and let them correct it for you, because a lot of times it may look okay to you, but somebody else will catch it, So no matter how smart you think you are, there's someone that can always proofread it just to catch. You'd be surprised. I have a book that's out. In fact, my first book that I showed you, I look back in it like years later. Excuse me. I look back on it years later, and there was one mistake. And excuse me. Talking too fast. There was one mistake, and I had to go in there and correct it.
Yeah.
But I had it perfect. So sometimes I've read books like Toni Morrison and some of the other authors, and I see mistakes. And I'm like, wow, how did that happen? So we're humans, we make mistakes. So
Right.
sometimes there are, and a lot of people don't know their mistakes because they just don't know. And they're reading the book, but they can't catch it because they don't know. And that's what happens. But a person that knows it, when they read it, they're like, wow, how did they make all these mistakes?
And then,
So
like
I
you say, even with, go ahead.
So I advise everybody to, when they write their books, make sure somebody proofread it for you, look over it, make sure it's as right as possible. It may not be perfect, but you want it to be so that people won't say, wow, I wonder who done this and why didn't they have it corrected, Yeah.
Yeah. And because I was going to say, even with formatting, that's so important, because I've gotten somebody's book this year. And of course, people will support you because it's you. But then I opened the book and it had like several different fonts. The words were different sizes and different chapters. And sometimes, to be honest, it's a little bit of a turnoff. It's like, okay, I'll buy my friend's book, but I may not read it, because that says a lot about the content of your book off the top.
And also when you're doing children's books, and this is something that in the seminar that I teach people that are doing children's books, is that you can't put all the words on one page and try to cram them up, and the kids are trying to read it. It's just, you just don't do it psychologically. You don't do that. You put a few words on the page so the kids can digest it as they're reading it. And also kids, they read illustrations too. So you want those illustrations to be able to accompany the words. And so there's a lot of things that you should know, a lot of tips and stuff that you should know to make it professional. Amazon is not going to do that for you.
Right.
They print exactly what you give them.
Yeah, you just upload it, send it to them, and they'll give you
Get
exactly
blank pages. They're going to print those 10 blank pages.
And put a cover on it and send it to your house. Well, absolutely. Well, I wanted to just make sure that we got this information out. Those of you that are watching, if you have any questions, go ahead and shoot them on to us, and Miss Pierce will be open to answer any of your questions that you have about publishing. But we want to talk about some of her books, and then just answer your questions. So go ahead and start shooting those in. So you have authored how many children's books today?
I have
5.
5. And my favorite one that I brand for the last few years is Janet from Another Planet. And Janet from Another Planet is about a little girl that's very different, because we have kids out there that feel inferior to other kids because they're different, but they may be a little silly, they may be a little nerdy or whatever, But Janet is one of those kids with an insecurity, and she's trying to meet new friends. And they think she's weird, and they let her know she's weird, but she still tries to push it, until finally she breaks through and find out that not only she's weird, but there's a difference about every child that may be weird to somebody, And so it's really cool. And she meets these friends, Peanut and Scoop and Jessie. And then she has a best friend by Lula, and she's always saying this, "Are you taller than me?" And they'll say, "No." And I said, "No, Janet," and then she gets really insecure about that. And so everybody she meets, she thinks that her being tall is something that will catch their attention. And so that's why she's always saying, "Lula, is he taller than me?" And she'll say, "Yes, yes, yes," And so I love that book. So from that book, I came up with my whole clothing line. And so I have a clothing line of pants that look like this.
And Janet from Another Planet pants.
That's Lula. And then we have we also have Jessie, and we have Scoop, and so we have pants of all the different characters. And this artist, he comes out of San Diego, and he has partnership with me. And of course, we have like all kinds of Janet shirts, and there's Janet right there of a darker shade. We kind of made her a little darker, so that she can identify with the community. And we have caps and all that stuff. But the best thing that we have, and this is something that we sell a lot of, and that's the coloring t-shirt. You actually can color this t-shirt to any color that you want. You
Mm-hmm.
use fabric markers, and you can wash it out and color it again. We sell a lot of those. That has been the
You
top.
do, because I bought one for my grandson
Exactly.
and he
So
absolutely enjoyed it.
they love it because they can make Janet any colors they wanted to make. And so we kind of love that. But then I have other encouraging. Well, here's one that we're going to be doing the production this summer. It's a
Okay.
bear in the bathtub.
Okay.
And these bears are trying to be humans. They're going around to all these different places, getting kicked out of it because they think they're human, and they're chasing them out of there. Like, you're not
Mm-hmm.
human, get out of here. So it's an
Okay.
imagination book. And then we kind
Mm-hmm.
of do some stuff like this that the school age kids, no more bullying. And what this
Okay.
book does is encourage the kids that are being bullied to what they do. That they go someone and report that,
That's
those
good.
kind of things, and that bullies are not your friends. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a comic book, and this is Muffin's Freckles. And if you know, wait a minute. And if you know, Muffin is my nickname.
Muffin.
Don't
Uh-huh.
tell nobody else, guys. That's the secret between us. So all my books is labeled as Barbara Muffin Pierce. And Muffin came from my daughter when she was little, because she said I had freckles when I used to hold her. And she said, Mommy, your face looked like a muffin. So she's talking about blueberries, right? And
Uh-huh.
so that name stuck with me ever since she was little. She's 42. And there was a little family calls me Muffin.
Okay. I think we're losing your connection just a little bit. Let me look on here and see if
Okay.
we have any questions. But those books are so very needed, because we understand that what goes in a child is what shapes their character.
That's
It
right.
shapes who they're going to be as an adult. That's why there's so many grown people that's going to therapy now, talking about things that happened to them when they were a child. So what gets into our children with the things that they see, the things that they read, are so important. And I just want to encourage every parent and every grandparent that's out there to get some positive books. Your children still read books, and we need to make them read books. That's the
That's
other
right.
thing.
That's right.
It's still required as a part of their reading curriculum at school. Is that correct?
That's
Because you're
right.
an educator.
And I try to mix. Sometimes I write books that are educational, but then
Mhm.
also I write books that are fun. But it
Right.
all has a theme to it. It's a purpose for it. Like Janet from Another Planet being low self-esteem and building her self-esteem. Her friends kind of make that happen at the end. I didn't want to tell you the story, but they kind of build her and make her feel important at the end. And so those are some kids that are out there now that are getting into the gangs and stuff like that. Those kids have low self-esteem. They
Mhm.
have no value of who they are. And then they grew up shooting each other and killing each other. They don't know that they came from kings and queens. They have no idea because they
Yes.
don't know the history.
Mhm.
And if they knew the history, they wouldn't be doing it to each other. They may get upset. When we were coming up in my generation, we would fight. Okay. We would have these
Mhm.
knockdown, drag out fights. But guess what? Next week, we were friends again. Now they're shooting each other and there's no coming back. And
Mhm.
us parents been and lost two children. We lost the one that was murdered and we lost the one that did the murdering. And when we were young, it's just that we all, we would come back together. And it's not like
Mhm.
that anymore. When they get angry
Right.
with you now, they want to kill you. They want to shoot you, stab you, whatever, drag you down, beat you up,
Mhm.
join gangs. We have to stop that now, because if we don't stop it when they're young, that's what we're going to have. We are destroying our own race.
We would have. And even speaking of what you do with the children, before we end, let's tell them a little bit about your summer camp, where it will be held, when it will start, or at least the contact information on how they can get in touch with you to get information to register their children. But it's an arts camp, correct?
It's an arts camp. We do all arts, but like I said, we enhance Black history in governmental, which means we have different government people come on, like senators and congressmen and stuff like that come over there. Also, it's a religious base too. We have ministers come over there and talk to the kids about whatever issues that are going on that kids need to be aware of. And
Mhm.
so it's a camp that we use as a tool to get to other things that we need to talk about. And that's what we like about, because kids love dancing, they love theater, they love music. But while they're there in between, if you insert that in the middle, they remember that. And sometimes when they come back 2 years later, I've had some kids since 6 years now, and when they come back 2 years, they can remember what they did last year and the year before that, and that makes you
Mhm.
feel good because we take them to Black History tours, like around Columbus, Tuskegee, Montgomery, Atlanta. We've taken them all those places. They remember that. They come back and they talk about, remember when we was at Booker T. Washington's house and we
Mhm.
found out that he died in the house? Oh, we were scared, that kind of
Mm.
thing. It's kind of
Okay.
funny, but it's real. They remember it sticks to their heads, and so it's been really delightful. Now, what we have it at is ambassadors of Christ. Now, for the people that are from Columbus, Ambassador of Christ is the building that used to be the Lambert
Yeah, the
Skating.
skate center.
Everybody remembers that. They
Yes.
be like, "Oh yeah, you remember the skate center?"
Mhm.
Lambert was a place that my daughter went to. So when it became a church, I was like, I couldn't wait to get in there to find out how that was going to be. So we
Mhm.
started there. We came there from Michael Williams, and you know him very well.
Yes. And
Pastor
you
Michael
publish. You
Williams.
actually also published
I
his
published
book.
his book also. That's right.
Mhm.
We're all one family. And
Yes.
he was the music minister over there at the time. And I was telling him about this camp I wanted to do. He said, why don't you come to my church and do it? And I said, okay. And I came over there and I talked to, now he's a bishop. He wasn't a bishop at that time, Bishop Scott. And he said, let's try it. And so we tried it for the first year. He said, you're going to do it next year. And then it was the next year. And then we had the pandemic and we had to do it at my business, which we only could take about 20 kids. And then we came back to the church last year because they
Mhm.
had, and everybody, all the parents need to know this for this camp. What they did is they installed a system that kills the virus. Once you walk in the door, there's no more virus. So you don't have to worry
Awesome.
about COVID there. So the parents,
Mhm.
when we told them that last year, all the parents sent their kids back to there. So we wound up with about 52 kids last year, which is awesome. And they can't wait to get back this year. So we just started the registration. We will have it on the website, and that's www.uniqueeuphonypublishing.com. And there it
Okay.
is. There it is.
Mhm.
And you'll be able to go on there as of this coming Monday to pull your application from there to go ahead on and apply for it. Okay.
What
Uh,
ages are the camp
the,
for?
the camp is 8 to 13 years old. I'm plugging my computer up because it's acting like it's about to die on me. There we go.
Okay.
So there we go. So it's from 8 to 13 years old. Those are the critical ages. Those are the ages where we want to keep those kids off the street. And so the camp lasts for 2 months. It starts the end of May and it lasts to the end of July. So a little over 2 months. This
Okay.
is the way that we keep our kids off the streets in the daytime until their parents get home. So they won't be these latchkey kids, right?
Mhm.
So they drop them off on their way to work and they pick them up when they get ready to go home. So we keep them from 8 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock. That's a long day. But
Mhm.
because of the help that I have, it works out very well.
Yes.
Um, it's only $20 a week, which no other camp in town,
Very affordable.
nobody
Absolutely.
else, nobody else in town charge that type of money. So $20, and they normally pay every Monday, or they pay every first of that month and pay the whole thing out. So people say, well, how do you survive? Well, for one, we don't have to pay for the church. The church is free
Mhm.
for us. And then two, we have a lot of donations that come in. Also, we have two events. We have a fashion show at the beginning, and at the end, we have the production. And we also do things all year round. So we raise our money on our own. We have no grants, no government money. I like it
Mhm.
that way because we have no stipulations.
Right. And you can just do what it is that
You
you
do
need to
what it is
do
to do. That's
and
exactly.
glorify and uplift the name of the Lord. And you don't have to keep God out of it
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
you're paying
And
for it
so when
yourself.
parents know that they're sending their kids to Ambassador of Christ, they know that that's a religious based program. So what we
Yes.
do in the morning time, we start off with a prayer. We have pastors to come in and talk to the kids of encouragement. It's just awesome. I for the 6 years I've been very pleased. In fact, I moved to Texas last year to do a book tour last year, and the kids were calling me when it got close and said, "Miss Pierce, aren't you coming back? We're going to have a camp this year." And I was like, "Oh my God, I got to get back!" And so I came back and
Yes.
right in time for camp. So they won't let me go, even though I
Yeah.
try to sometimes think I can sneak out of Columbus. Kids not gonna let it happen.
They won't, and I'm not going to let it happen either because we need you here for all of the wonderful things that you're doing. Well, thank you so much for
You're
joining us
welcome.
here. This is our time, and we did have some good comments, and one parent saying this is really good. So hopefully the word will be shared about not only what you're doing with your publishing company and the books that they can get for their children, but also with the upcoming summer camp. And I just want to thank you again for joining us and for being who you have been in my life, and an encourager through so many situations. Like I say, from when I was 18 and 19, a supporter, because you would come over and support things that I was doing in ministry. And even now, things that I'm doing now, you have come over and supported. This is the first time you've been to Velocity, because you've come and sat in the audience when we had other authors in.
That's
So
right. And
thank you
I
so
wanted
much.
to mention, I didn't want to cut you up, but I wanted to mention that how dear you are to my heart is that when I lost my husband in 2014, I called up and I said, Danielle, I need you to sing at my husband's memorial, and you were there. And that was something that touched my heart, and I cried. And I don't know if I cried because of the memorial. I cried because you were singing there. And it was so beautiful, you know. So I just want people to know how dear you are to me. And when I got ready to go to Brunswick for the RB, all I had to do was call you and say, let's go to lunch. And you said, I'll go with you. And I was like, wow. And I drove there and you drove back because you knew I was exhausted. And, you know, so I just want people to know that how close you have been to me over the years. And my daughter loves you, you know. So
thank you. And I love her. I love your entire family. Thank you so much again for joining us. And we'll be doing more. You guys will be hearing more from us, not just in as publishers, but the work that we're doing together in the NAACP. So thank you, Ms. Pierce. And
you're welcome.
If there's not anything else that you want to discuss, I'm going to ask you if you would go ahead and pray us out.
Okay, let's do that. Everybody bow if you're at home. I just want to thank God for all the wonderful women that have paved the way for us to go through. And I want God to thank all the children that are staying off the streets and doing these programs that we are trying to provide for them. I want to thank the NAACP for all the civil rights that we've been doing to help people gain their justice and equality. I want to thank Miss Pastor McCoy for doing the things that she's doing to let people, other people know that what is going on in the community. I want to thank God for getting us through this COVID time. I want to thank God for everything that has happened to make our lives productive and make us go forward as a people, as a community. Thank you, God, for all that you do for us. Yes. Thank you for all you listeners that are out there listening and hoping that this is good information that you can take back and share it with others. Thank God for food. Thank God for roof. Thank God for transportation and material things that are really not ours. It all belongs to God. Thank you for all that you do every single day that you do it. Thank you. God bless, and everybody move with safety.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much for that wonderful prayer. Guys, this is it. Thank you so much for joining our broadcast. And don't forget, tonight, join us at 9:00 p.m. Me and Bishop Norman Hartman, we're going to come and bring the word of God, and you don't want to miss it. It's going to be encouraging. If you've been in a place in life, you say, God, I feel like I'm just surviving, but I want to conquer this thing. This Bible study tonight is for you, and you can ask questions and just join in with us. I love you, Miss Pierce. Thank you so much for joining us. Have an absolutely fantastic day.
Bye-bye now.
All right.